As we talk about preaching, I think it's important to identify that there are a variety of different styles of preaching and teaching. And there is a specific distinction between teaching and preaching. Teaching is extremely valuable. In fact, we need teachers. But I think it's important to recognize that there is a difference between being a teacher and being a preacher. This online course is going to focus specifically on really how to be a great preacher. Teaching is more about getting ideas, information, or insights from one person to another person. You're taking things that you have learned or things that you understand, whether that's concepts or data, and you are then taking those concepts and that data and passing it along to someone else. Preaching should be much more than teaching. No doubt preaching should include teaching. There are portions of preaching and definitely portions of sermons that need to be educational, where you are taking information, concepts, insights, data, things that you understand, bits of knowledge, and you are taking them and transferring them from yourself to your audience. But preaching really needs to go beyond that. The goal of preaching is not just to transfer information, but it's to move people, specifically to move people to be in awe of God. Frequently, whenever people approach preaching, it really becomes teaching, and more specifically, teaching people how to behave. Unfortunately, much of our contemporary preaching in North America really is focused on behavior modification. What we're doing is teaching people steps to take. For example, you may have preachers that say, today we're going to preach a sermon on how to be a great husband. Here's 3 steps on how to be a great husband. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and that's in essence how they build their teaching sermons. With all due respect to many of my brethren across North America, I don't believe this is the most effective way to preach. In fact, all you're doing then is giving people information on what to do. You have potentially modified the way they live their lives. But if people have not been moved inwardly to be in awe of God, ultimately the behavior doesn't last very long. Now, when I say I want people to be moved, I'm not saying we were looking for an emotional response. That's not at all what I'm saying. There are preachers out there that will simply look for an emotional response. They will be manipulative in the way they get people to feel in a particular moment because they want them to have some sort of reaction or response. That's not at all what I'm saying. The goal is to get people to think about Jesus and behold his beauty. We want people to be in awe of his majesty. We want people to just be blown away about some specific element about the character and nature of God that then grabs a hold of their heart and inspires them to go live and think differently. Preaching should move people inwardly to feel convicted about some element of their life because they recognize it's not in line with God's ideal. Preaching starts with teaching and has elements of teaching, but goes beyond that. It should move people to behold the beauty of the Savior. We want people to feel conviction and inspiration. We don't just want them embracing bits of information. In the next segment, we're going to talk quite a bit about how to be an effective communicator as you develop sermons.